Good morning, learners. How are you today? Welcome, grade 9s. Today's topic, very interesting, very helpful, and you can use it in your everyday life. Because sometimes when we need to do something, then we have a problem. For instance, let's say your mother gave you 50 rand. And she says to you, you must share this money with your sister. Now, you must decide now. How are you going to share it now? Are you going to be the nice brother and give her exactly half? Now, if you do that, then of course, she gets exactly half of the 50, which is 25 rand. So then that ratio of dividing the money will be equal parts, isn't it? Equal parts. 25 rand is to 25 rand. Or if you can, I get one part and she gets one part. So that's easy, am I right now? But let's say you are not that nice brother and you want to give her a smaller piece of the money. And then so it's no more 1:1. Let's say you want double the amount she's going to get. You see, so then the ratio will change now, because now you'll get double. So for every 2 rand you are taking, she will take 1 rand, isn't it? Whereas equally, for every 1 rand you take, she takes 1 rand. Am I correct? That is equal. But if you want to have double what she gets, or even triple, then you take 3 rand and she take 1 rand. You take 3 rand, she takes 1 rand. So that is the whole idea of ratio, guys. And that is our lesson for today. All right, let's get started. Let's look now at a more clear example. Right. So remember now I said with ratios, right? Remember, with ratios, we are comparing 2 or more quantities of the same kind. Like the example of the money, 50 rand. So my sister gets 1 rand, I get 1 rand. Or if it's 50 bucks, she gets 25 rand, I get 25 rand. So we compare 2 quantities of the same kind. Remember, both must be rand. The one can be rand and the other one cents. But then it doesn't make sense. Or you compare rands with apples. That is not going to work. So it must be of the same kind. Very important, guys. It can, of course, be more than 2 as well. Look, you can have 50 rand and you can have 2 sisters. So you must share it amongst yourself and your 2 sisters. Now there's 3 people involved, isn't it? So that's also possible. Now, let's look at the example. What do we have here? We have 3 blue squares and we have 1 yellow square. If I look, now all of them are squares. So if I need to compare them, then I would say for every one yellow, there are 1, 2, 3 blue ones. So for every 1 yellow, there are 3 blue ones. Can you see? So be careful now. If I say the ratio of blue squares to yellow, so I mentioned blue first, and I mentioned yellow second, then I must say 3:1. 3 represents blue because blue was mentioned first. Then you write the 1 because the 1 is mentioned second, and it represents the yellow. If I said yellow to blue, then it would have been 1:3. Is it clear? And of course, we use what we call a semicolon, right? A semicolon, 2 dots, to represent 3:1. Are we clear on that now, guys? Right. Now, ratios can be shown in different ways. And of course, like I said, we used a colon, right? We use 2 dots, a colon. So 3:1, we can say the word 2, because that is actually in the place of 2, right? So we can say 3:1, or we can also write it in a fraction, 3/1. Okay, so be careful now. Ratios can be written in 3 ways now, remember, guys? You can either write it like that. That is one way to do it. Or you can use the word to. That's the second way. Or in a fraction form. That is the third way. So those are the three methods you are going to represent ratio. Are we cool with that? Right. Okay. A ratio can be scaled up or down. You can increase it or you can decrease it. Very important. For instance, but remember, very important, that as a rule, ratios must always be written in its simplest form. That you must never forget. Let's look at this one, for instance. Now we have how many blues now? We have 2, 4, 6 blues and 2 yellows. So there are 6 blues and 2 yellow squares. So the ratio, of course, is 6:2, isn't it? Because there are 6 blues and 2 yellows. However, if I simplify, right, 6:2. If I simplify, remember it can be written as a fraction, right? As a fraction. And if I simplify, I can say 2 goes there once, goes there thrice. I have the fraction 3/1, which is the ratio 3:1. So ratios can be scaled down, 3:1. So that is scaled down. Or we can scale them up. In other words, I can also increase 3/1. For instance, if I multiply 3/1 by, let's say, by 2/2. Now, very important, guys, because 2/2 is 1, isn't it? And if you multiply anything by 1, you do not change its value. Remember, 1 is the identity element of multiplication. 5 times 1 is 1. 10 times 1 is 1. Myself times 1 is myself. So it doesn't change. So 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. So I get 6/2. Right. I get 6/2. So you can scale it up like that, or you can scale it down. So that is scaling up. This is scaling down. Are we cool with that? Okay. Right. Now we can, of course, use ratios. Like remember I told about the 50 rand, you can share. That's how you can use ratios to make your life easy. The trick with ratio is to always multiply or divide both numbers by the same value, guys. Like I said, times 2 or divide by 2, but both must be multiplied or divided by the same value. Let me just take you back quickly. You see here? Either you multiply by the same value or you divide by the same value. Is that clear, guys? So don't forget that. Right. Now here's an example. You must write the ratio 4:5 in an equivalent form. Right, in an equivalent form. In other words, so what you can do is you can first write it as a fraction, remember? And now you can, what I can do is I can make it either make it bigger or smaller. In this case, let's say I want to make it bigger, let's say 3 times. So it is times 3/3. Right, is that clear, guys? So therefore, it will be 3 times 4, which is 12, and 5 times 3 is 15. So therefore, the ratio is now 12:15. So they are in equivalent form. In other words, this ratio and this ratio are equivalent ratios. Just I've scaled it up. But remember now, you must multiply them with the same value. I hope you are okay with that. Let's look at the following activity now, which I would like you to try. We have 3 red squares and 4 blue triangles. Right, 3 red squares and 4 blue triangles. Now I want you to write down the ratio squares to triangles. See, squares is mentioned first. Then you must do triangles to squares. then you must turn it around. So I want you to try this, guys. Shouldn't take long, about 1 minute maybe. So I want you to try it quickly on your own. Starting now. Right. I'm sure you could have done this in 5 seconds. I'm sure about that. So squares to triangles. So there are 3 squares is to 4 triangles. Simple as that. 3 is to 4. And then triangles to squares will be 4 triangles is to 3 squares. Not so difficult. You see, guys, easy, man, I'm sure. You could have done that very easily. Right, another activity. You must simplify the ratios. In other words, like 6 is to 12, simplify means you must bring it down, make it smaller, right? So all 3 of them. 6 is to 12, 1,5 is to 3, then 9 is to 12 is to 15. Right, here I'll give you a little bit more time, because it might be a little bit longer. You can do it now in a group now. Right, or with your friend next to you, right? So starting now. Right, I'm sure you could have done it. Let's see. Let's first take the first one. 6 is to 12. Remember, I will advise you to first write it as a fraction. So it will be 6 over 12. Let's make it properly here. 6 over 12. Simplify means down. So I advise you guys to look for something in common, a common factor. What can divide into 6 and into 12 without a remainder? And I would say 6. So I would say 6 into itself once, into 12 twice. So I get the fraction a half. So therefore, the answer is then 1 is to 2. Right, so there I've simplified. And always, guys, it's advisable if you can have a 1, then that is a proof that it is in its simplest form. Right, let's see the next one. 1,5 is to 3. 1,5 over 3. Right, let's see. Now, with a decimal fraction, you might have a slight challenge. But if you're smart, guys, you will see, wait, 1,5 is actually 1.5. It's exactly a half of 3, isn't it? So, yes, I would say 1,5 goes there once, 1,5 goes there twice. Because, in other words, it is a half, so the ratio then will be also 1 is to 2. See, it's not so bad. But there are other ways. Please talk to your teacher to show you the other methods how to deal with fractions. Right. Then the last one, 9 is to 12 is to 15. Now the fraction story is not going to work because I got 3 numbers. However, I can still ask myself, what is common for all 3? And yes, you are right. It is the value 3. So I would say 3 goes there 3 times, 3 goes there 4 times, 3 goes there 5 times. Also, another way, guys, is to, when you see prime numbers like 3, right, 3 and 5. Okay. So 3 is to 4 is to 5. 3 and 5 are prime numbers, so therefore, it is in its simplest form. Right, so please remember now how to do it. I'm sure you could have done it, guys. That wasn't really such a difficult problem. Right, let's go to recipes. We're going to do some cooking now. Now, remember your mother sometimes in the kitchen got a recipe, and the recipe is maybe made for 2 persons. But now there's 10 people coming to visit her. So now she must increase the ingredients, isn't it? But she must increase them proportionally, in the same ratio, so that there's enough food, or enough cake for everybody. And that's also where ratio comes in very handy. So let's do some baking. A recipe, oh yummy, my favorite pancakes. 3 cups of flour and 2 cups of milk. Right, so this is the recipe for pancakes. 3 cups of flour and 2 cups of milk. So the ratio of flour to milk is therefore 3 is to 2. I think that is quite clear, isn't it? The ratio. Now, if you need to make pancakes for a lot of people, you might need 4 times the quantity, isn't it? So in other words, if I want 4 more or 4 times the quantity, I need to increase everything so the ratio must be scaled up 4 times. So therefore, 3 will be multiplied by 4 and 2 will be multiplied by 4 to increase the ratio now to 12 is to 8. In the same proportion, guys, can you see? It is in the same proportion. I didn't change the value because if I simplify 12 is to 8, it will come back to 3 is to 2. So that's how we're going to do it. So it's not so difficult. So in other words, now we need 12 cups of flour and 8 cups of milk, because that's how we increase it proportionally. So the ratio is still the same. It didn't change, guys. In other words, all of a sudden, there's not more milk than flour or more flour than milk. The ratio is still the same. So the pancakes should still be a winner, isn't it? It should still taste the same. I didn't change, and it should still be yummy, isn't it? All right. Let's look at part to part and part to whole in ratios. What do we mean by this? Part to part and part to whole. The example we have here is part to part, but the ratio can also show a part compared to the whole lot. By that I mean, guys, if I have 5 pups here, 5 puppies, 2 are males and 3 are female puppies. Right. 2 male puppies and 3 female puppies. So altogether, how many puppies do we have? 5, isn't it? 5 puppies. Oh, they're smart, eh? Right. So part to part. That means the ratio of male to female, 2:3, isn't it? Male is to female, 2 male, 3 female. Right, so therefore the ratio, and of course the other way around, if I say female to male, you turn it around and you say 3:2. But the part to whole, now this is part to part, guys, right? That is part to part. Male to female, female to male. But part to whole means now male to all the pups will be 2:5. Because there's 2 males, but there are 5 pups altogether. Can you see? So part to whole will be 2:5. And of course, the same for female will be 3:5. 3 female puppies and 5 puppies altogether. So remember now what to do with part to part and what to do with part to whole. Right, I'm sure you're clear on that. Right, let's look at the activity now. Right, look at those shapes again, the 3 red squares and the 4 blue squares. And I want you to write down the ratio of squares to all the shapes, squares to all the shapes. That is part to whole, isn't it? And what is triangles to all the shapes? Part to whole. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. 1 minute's enough, I think, for this activity. Shouldn't take long. You can do it on your own, starting now. Right, welcome back, guys. Let's see. So what is the ratio of squares to all the shapes? How many squares are there? 3. So it is 3 squares. And how many shapes? There are 7, isn't it? 4 and 3. So there you are. Ratio of squares to shapes, 3 is to 7. And of course, triangles to shapes, there are 4 triangles. And there are 7 shapes. I'm sure you could have done it. That is not a train smash, right? Now we must know how to increase or decrease in a certain ratio. Sometimes you need to do this to decrease something or to increase it, but it must be in the same ratio. For instance, let's take 28 kilograms, and we must increase it in the ratio 13:7. Increase. Now there's a hint. Place what you want on top of the line, biggest number on top to give you an increase, if I want to increase. So if the ratio is 13:7, guys, and I want to increase, then I will say 13 divided by 7. The biggest number in the numerator and the smaller number in the denominator, and then I multiply that with the 28 kg. Right. So that is the advice I'll give you if you want to increase, big number on top, small number at the bottom. Then, of course, the rest will be easy because how many 7s are there in 28? Of course, there are 4. 4 times 7 is 28. And what is 4 times 13? Of course, it's 52, isn't it? Right. 4 times 13 is 52 kilograms. Check. Is that increase? Yes. It is an increase. 28 increased to 52. It is an increase. Not so bad. Let's do a decrease now. Decrease 45 minutes in the ratio 2:3. Now remember now, if increase was big number over small number, then obviously decrease will be small number over the big number. It just makes sense, guys, isn't it? And then over 45 over 1 minute. Right. And if I simplify this, how many 3s in 45? Yes, there are 15, isn't it? 15 times 3 is 45, and 15 times 2 is 30 minutes. Right. Again, double check. 45 decreased to 30. So it's very straightforward, guys. I'm sure you will be able to do this. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Right, then, divide the given ratio. Now, you've got 300 apples. Right, and there are 3 persons or 3 people, A, B, C. And you want to divide this amongst 3 people. How? But the ratio is 1:5:9. So they don't get the same shares. Then how do we do it? Well, let's see. Right, let's see. So let me make some space here for it. Right. Right, let's see. So what you do is, guys, is that you take the ratio and you add the value. So 1 plus 5 plus 9 gives you 15. Right. 1 plus 5 plus 9 gives you 15. Right. That's the first step, 15. Now, let's look at A first, person A. Person A is mentioned first, so the 1 will go with him. So, you will get 1 out of the 15. You see? The person B will get 5 out of the 15. You agree with me, guys? And person C will get 9 out of the 15. Right. 9 out of the 15. So that's the second step, guys. The first step is you add the ratios, and then you split them 1 out of 15, 5 out of 15, and 9 out of 15. Then each one will be multiplied by the 300. You see? Each one will be multiplied by the 300. Right. And that's how you do it. Right. Shall we do it quickly? Now, of course, we can quickly do some division. I like mental maths. 15, you can use a calculator, of course. 15 goes into 30 twice, so it's 20 times. Right, just double check with me. And 20 times 1 is 20. The same here. 15 goes there once. 15 goes there 20 times. So 20 times 5 is 100. And then here the same again. Once. 20 times 9 gives you, 180. Now, of course, you can test your answer, guys. If you 20 plus 100 is 120, plus 180 gives you 300. So you can double check whether your answer is correct. So there you are. That's how we will divide a value in a certain ratio. Remember, you add the ratios, and then you split each one in its own ratio. Right. And it shouldn't be that difficult. Right, time for you to try one. Here's your activity. There are 4 activities. The first one is, which ratio is the smallest? 1:5 or 1:6? This one you have to think about, guys. Think. Determine then x. If that is given to you, x is to 4 equals to 5 is to 2. Some algebra there. Then burgers are meals available in 3 sizes. And the sizes are 2 is to 3 is to 5. And you order 36 burgers. That, how many are extra large? Right. Right. So there are 3 sizes. There's regular burgers, there's large burgers, and there's extra large burgers. I think you like the extra large, isn't it? So regular will be 2, large will be 3, and extra large will be 5. You must work out how many of these burgers are extra large, right? And then lastly, you must increase a mark of 28% in the ratio 3:2. Those are the 4 examples, guys. I want you to do it. You can do it with your friend. You can do it in a group. And starting now. Right, welcome back, guys. I hope you had an interesting discussion. So let's see. Let's start with the first one. Which ratio is the smallest? 1:5 or 1:6? Now, I want you to think now, guys. Let's take a pizza. Let's say you have a pizza. Right. And so 1:5 means that there are 6 pieces. Am I correct? Remember the previous example? We add 5 and 1, so there are 6 pieces. 1:5. Remember, if I get 1 piece, my friend gets 5 pieces. So altogether, there are 6 pieces, right? So in other words, here I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. The other ratio is 1:6. So how many pieces do we have now? Yes, we have 7 pieces. Remember, if I take 1 piece, you take 6. So there should be 7. So the other pizza will be in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now think now. Well, which ratio is the smallest? In other words, which one will give you the smallest portion? Yes, you're right. It is 1:6, isn't it? Because the pieces or the portions are greater divided, so the portions are smaller. Very misleading, because you will think 6 is bigger, so it's a bigger one. No. It is you divide the pizza into smaller, more portions, so automatically it is smaller, isn't it? Brilliant. Right. Determine the value of x. Now, guys, if you get an example like this, remember a ratio is also a fraction. So x:4 can be written as x/4, and 5:2 can be written as 5/2. So that is my advice to you. Write it immediately in a fraction if you must simplify or you must find x. Then, of course, we can use this technique we call cross multiplication. So x times 2 is 2x. And, of course, 4 times 5 is 20. Right. Then the next step is we can divide by 2, because remember we want to solve for x. So therefore, x is then 10. Straightforward algebra. So that shouldn't be a problem. So remember here that a ratio is a fraction. And then the rest is straightforward. Okay, 3 sizes of burgers, our favorite topic. Regular, large, and extra large. And they are in the ratio 2:3:5. How many pieces will be extra large? Looks familiar? Yes, we need to add 2 plus 3 plus 5. You still remember, guys? That gives us 10. So there are 10 types of burgers, isn't it? We want extra large only, so therefore the focus is on 5. Because extra large is mentioned last, so 5 belongs to extra large. So the ratio therefore is then 5:10 times, right. The 36, remember? We've ordered 36 burgers, don't forget. We've ordered 36 burgers. We want to know how many of the 36 will be extra large. Right. And let's see here. What we can do is we can start simplifying. I like my mental maths. 5 goes there once, 5 goes there twice. It always works for me, mental maths. Then I can say 2 goes there once and 2 goes there 18. See, it works for me, mental math. Or use a calculator, please. So 18 times 1 is 18. So 18 burgers will be extra large. Right. So 18 of the 36 burgers will be extra large. If you're smart, guys, if you were smart, you would have seen that 2 and 3. In other words, the regular and the large together gives you 5. And then that is 5. So it is 5:5. Can you see? Which means equal. Therefore, I'm not surprised to see 18. Because 18 is exactly a half of 36. Did you see that? If you're smart, you could have picked it up just like that. All right. I'm sure you are happy with that one. Then the last one. We must increase the mark of 28% in the ratio 3:2. Remember, increase? Yes, you're right. The big number on top and the small number at the bottom. I'm sure you remember that one. And it is, of course, 28% over 1. And, of course, 2 goes there once, 2 goes there 14. You agree with me? And 14 times 3 is 4 times 3 is 12 and 1. So it's 42%. It's an increase? Yes. 28, use another color here. 28 increase to 42. So it is a definite increase. Right. Let's double check again. 3 times 14, 3 times 4 is 12, carry 1 is 4. So it's 42. Right. Are we happy with that, guys? Right. Okay. Now, the homework activity. Take note. Right. If you have a classroom with 12 girls and 18 boys, determine the ratio of girls is to boys. That's the first one. In a theme park, the roller coaster is 6 times more popular. 6 times more. Now here lies the secret, guys. 6 times more. Then the big swing, how would you write this as a ratio? The one is 6 times more than the other one. Right, so take note of that. Right. Then, number 3, if 7A equals to 28B, find the ratio A is to B. Decrease 60 kilogram in the ratio 3:4. Divide 2,340 in the ratio 2:5:6. Right? And then the last one, activity, right? If you have the time in class, you can look at this. This is another recipe, cookies for 10 people, right? So these are the ingredients for cookies for 10 people. And if you have to only want to bake for 3 people, how will you do it now? Will you reduce the ingredients, and with how much? Just something for you to think about. Just try it and see, can you do it? So guys, this is your homework, right, all together. So please, homework is very important. Homework must always be done, don't forget. Please, and make sure that your educator mark the homework with you the following day. So guys, there you are. I hope you have a better understanding of what ratio is and what we can do with ratio. As always, take care of yourself and see you next time. Bye-bye.